welcome. My name is Esther Udekwe. As always, this is Serenity with Essay. Now, I'm really happy this evening because I have the honor and the privilege to be hosting my first ever male and Serenity with Essay. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome the one and only Basu, also known as T-Boss. Hello.
Thank you, Faye. Thank you. It's so nice to be here. So
Yeah.
nice to be here, and it's amazing what you're doing. I so much love what you're doing, following it, and just helping people. I see that's the heart of what you do, and it's amazing. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. I know I've already mentioned your name. Could you please just kindly introduce yourself properly to the viewers and subscribers of Serenity with Essay?
Okay, my name is Bosun Lawyer, and I'm Nigerian. I don't like to say originally. I am Nigerian, and I'm a father of two girls, 8 and 4. By profession, I'm a data analyst, and yeah, I work with a water board.
Okay. Thank you for joining me today on Serenity with Essay. We're not going to waste time. We're going to go right in and may I just say that this is the concluding part of my recent conversation with Dr. Janet Antwi, where we talked about all things health as it relates to the BAME community. Now, if you're new to that acronym, the BAME community stands for the Black and Ethnic Minority Community living in the diaspora. But we're just going to narrow it down to England as it concerns us. So today we're going to be looking at some of the issues that we have to deal with as part of the BAME community. Now, my first question to you, Bosun, is this issue of identity. Now, you are involved in lots of social activities, church activities. Please tell us, how do you maintain a sense of identity as well as being socially inclusive in what you do?
Okay, yeah, as you rightly mentioned, I'm a Christian, and that's an integral part of me. Like that's what I try to do most times is just be myself. One thing that we all have to realize is that we don't have to change ourselves to belong. And I know that a lot of times we try to do that because we want to get into, possibly you want to get into that job that you want to, or you feel like there's that circle you need to get into. But you see, the thing is, I believe that one of the problems that we have is that if you lose your identity, then anyone else from another culture does not really know how to identify with you because they don't really know what you're about. Rather, if they see all Nigerians, okay, if they're able to say, oh, Nigerians are this, they're that, they're this is what they love, then you know how to identify with Nigerians, right? But if you see a Nigerian, if you see a Bosun, for instance, trying to do something else, not really identifying with Nigerian, and forgive me for saying this, another person's just going their own way, and then there's no real identity in that, is there? And then people from other cultures struggle to actually know what you're about. So the first thing I try to do is I don't try to change myself just because I want to be your friend or to get to know you. Rather, I try to be myself. If the friendship works out, it works out. If I fit in, then I fit in. If I don't fit in, then maybe I don't belong there. So it's all about being confident in yourself, really.
Yeah, and if you don't fit in, you know when to take a leave. But I've heard people say to me, "I always say I don't fit in, I don't belong there." I sort of have complex at workplace and in social gatherings. Have you ever experienced that, or what would you say to someone who is struggling to really fit in into the society, as it were?
Well, when you say someone trying to fitting into the society, I think it's subjective.
Yeah.
Because it depends on, okay, so what part of the society are you trying to fit into? Because you would always belong in a particular place. Find a place where you belong. I mean, you can't, the honest truth is you can't belong everywhere. You can't belong to every society you want to belong to. Like you ideally would like to because for different reasons. But there will be somewhere where you are comfortable. And even so let's take work for instance. Like you're trying to fit into the social circle. That is fine. But there is a limit. You need to realize that because of the cultural differences, there's a limit to what you can do. And there's a limit to how much you want to blend. And most times when we're talking about blending, we're actually talking about you trying to change yourself so that you could fit in. And there's a limit of how much change you can do to yourself before you actually totally lose your identity.
And I think that's where, you know, because I mean, when I remember when I worked as a youth counselor, you know, my clients, some of my clients would say to me, I said, we don't really know where we belong. And there seemed to be this issue of identity versus role confusion, not knowing where they really stand. And that sort of has, you know, had an impact on their mental well-being, and sort of, you know, brought them to counseling in the first place. So, I mean, where do we go from there? How can we encourage, you know, those of us from this community, especially the young people? How can we encourage them to maintain that state of authenticity without necessarily isolating themselves from the, I don't know why I'm doing my hand like that, from the circle, as it were?
So for me, I would say this: that job starts from our generation or the generation before us. We need role models. If younger people see someone they can identify with of the same color, then they don't need to find someone else of another culture that they want to look like. So I say this, and I've heard so many times people talking about BAME, and what we need to do. We know that there's a lot to be done. We know that there's a lot that can be done. But what are you as an individual doing is the question. What am I as Bosu doing as an individual? How am I making a difference? Because we can't keep telling our kids or our children what they should be. We need to show them what they need to be. So if we don't have role models that will show these kids the way or the children the way, then I think in the first instance we failed. And that's why you find that children nowadays are trying to be what they want to look like or be like or talk like someone of another culture, because they can't identify themselves with anyone. They don't see anyone there or up there that they can actually identify with that is of their own culture. So I think the thing is that the first thing is we need role models. And also number two for me is that the work also starts from home. It's actually what you imbibe in the children. What I think I see out there a lot of times that is missing is the self-confidence. A lot of us, even adults and children, are lacking in self-confidence. And sometimes I can understand it. You're far away from home. You don't identify. But again, you just have to find a way, excuse me, of creating a niche for yourself. Be yourself. The thing is, if you are yourself, you will always find people who want to identify with you, regardless of who you are, what you're trying to be. You will always find people who would identify with you. Absolutely. So be yourself. Because in being yourself, that self-confidence automatically is there because you're not trying to change yourself.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
what
Yeah,
I'm
go on.
hearing from your explanation is that charity begins from home, and actually
Right.
leads me to to the next thing I was going to talk about: affection. Affection. I've had people say to me, when I if you're close to me, you'll see how I relate with my children. I will cuddle them to the wall and off the wall, kiss them to the wall and off the wall. And other people say to me, "Oh, I said, black people are not big on affection. Where did you learn that from?" And I want to hear from you, from a man and from a father's perspective, because we all know that love and affection is key to psychological and emotional well-being, not just for ourselves, for our children as well. So where do you stand in in this place of affection? Is there too much affect? Is there such thing as too much affection? And are you an affectionate father? And would you say this way of being has an impact in your relationship with the children? No, I'm asking you so many questions, but I want you to really talk to us from a father perspective, because we have to start this from home, this confidence building that you're talking about. So where do you stand on, oh, black people shouldn't be too affectionate, we shouldn't show our emotion? Where do you stand on that?
I don't think there's anything like too much affection.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes, and I respect the fact that the level and the way that we show our affection sometimes might differ from person to person,
Mm.
but I don't think there's anything like too much affection. If you look out there, most of the people who miss it, you'll find out that the start of it was a fact that they did not have the love that they needed or they wanted at an early stage, or at an earlier stage.
Mm.
And so with myself, I'm quite a strict father, but I know when to pull the strictness back and then show some affection. It's got to be a balance.
Yes.
It's got to be a balance. And I love my girls to bits. Don't get me wrong, but again, it's part of affection. Affection does not particularly mean that you would not be strict with the kids, or you don't, or you don't correct them when they're going wrong. In
Mm.
actual fact, affection is actually getting that balance, know when to correct them when they're wrong,
Mm.
and know when to hug them, love them, and kiss them, even after you've corrected them, and at all the
Absolutely.
times.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I am with affection. It's, for me, correcting you is the fact that I love you as well, and I don't want to see you miss it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm bent on making sure that I correct you when you're going wrong,
Mm-hmm.
love you, do everything I can do to show affection, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So that's where I stand. Well, although I have to say that I'm not a PDA person. I'm, as my
You know,
wife always accuses me of that. I'm not a public display kind of person.
excuse me. When you say you're a street father, I just sort of
Yeah.
remembered, a scenario, and then someone was, talking to me, and I do have his permission to share this
Yeah.
story. He grew up wanting to study animation against his
Okay.
father's will, or his father's will. His father wanted him to be a medical doctor, and I could relate to this because I remember growing up, growing up in my community. There were only five careers. It's either you were a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, an accountant, or a disgrace to the family. And this guy, this guy went off and studied animation, and he automatically became a disgrace, you know, to the family. And this had, a massive impact on the family dynamics. He was really at a point where he felt like taking his own life. So, what's your take on that? Would you jeopardize your, relationship with your children because of their career choice?
So first of all, uh, I don't think that a choice of a career should at any point
Mm.
lead us down a conversation where that would lead to depression setting in,
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
starters. And I totally respect the fact that, and I am also of a school of thought that children are children for a reason. You need to guide them.
Mm.
Sometimes you need to direct them. You don't always have to tell them what to do, but you have to be there to guide them because they are children. And if you look at our generation as well, I can tell you that for a fact that myself, even not for my dad was quite strict as well, by the way, and even not for his guidance. I mean, okay, let me put it this way. My dad wanted me to be an architect, right? Because he was an architect. But I ended up studying geography. So, and at some point, he was really like, yeah, you should do this. But at some point, he backed off and said, if that's what you want to do it. And that's where I also stand. I mean, guide them, tell them what you feel, tell them, show them the advantages. But never let it, for me, I wouldn't let it get to a point where it becomes a major argument in the house where if you don't study this, then I'm not going to do this. No, because what you're doing is pushing that child away.
Absolutely.
And besides, we're in a world where what you study for your first degree might not necessarily be what you're doing. For crying out loud, I studied geography today. I'm a data analyst / scientist. So it doesn't really matter. Just let them be. Guide them as much as you can. Be as firm as you can, but know when to pull back.
The next question, Basu, men in therapy. This is a big one because, if you're familiar with this program, I like to use my experiences to illustrate the point I make on serenity with essay. Growing up, Basu, I remember my dad would say to us loud and clear, "You don't wash your dirty linens in public." And interestingly, some people, particularly from people from the BAME community, still refer to counseling as washing your dirty linens in public. And from my experience as a counselor, I've come across men from our community that are really, really struggling. And yet they're willing to seek help. What's your take on men being in therapy? Would you say that would make them less of a man? Is it okay to bottle up your feelings, or should you seek help when help is needed?
So for starters, I don't think seeking help is a sign of weakness. If anything else, I think it's a sign of strength because it takes someone that's got the strength to be able to reach out and say, you know what, I can't actually do this. That takes a lot of confidence and strength to say, I can't do this by myself. I need help. And I know that back in the days, that's what being a man would almost entail. Like you've got to be strong. And yes, even now, you've got to be strong. But when seeking help doesn't mean you're not strong, because the reality is you can't be strong in every aspect. And seeking help for me is nowadays, because the world has changed from what it used to be. We do have a lot of pressures out there. It's financial, it's a whole lot of pressure. And we have to realize that even as individuals, even as friends to each other, we need to be there for each other. And it's no longer I just want to do this on my own and show everyone that I can do it. It's about us succeeding together. Absolutely. It's about us supporting each other. So for me, if you have, say, like, if you need help with psychologically, I would say to anyone who actually goes out there and gets that help to say.
Would you refer them to me, by the way? Would you ask them to come to me?
I would, because you're doing a good job.
I think I'll just put that out there.
You're doing a good job. So I would actually say seek the help. In fact, I've actually told a lot of my friends seek help, because it could be because I have and sadly I have some friends that are struggling with their marriage, struggling with psychologically as well. Seek the help you can get. I mean, that's very important for survival.
Very important for survival, especially in today's society. There's nothing to be, there's no shame in seeking help.
Yeah.
And I really heard you when you talked about support. And I was thinking, would you say we're doing enough of that as members of this BAME community? Would you say we are encouraging our children enough to focus on the things that matter most to them? Remember, you talked about confidence building earlier and how, how what they say in Africa, it's not, your child is not just a child alone. Your child is my child and my child is yours. So would you say we're doing enough to support one another? Would you say we're doing
The,
enough to socially include ourselves? Would you say we're unintentionally excluding ourselves? I have so many questions. Would you say we're doing enough to maintain healthy boundaries? So quickly, what's your
so
take on this?
so if you might not like my answer to this, because because even as a community, yes, we are building a community, but is it are the relationships within the community healthy? That's important as well. So we can say, oh, A is my friend, B is my friend, but what sort of relationship do you have? Do you have a competitive relationship whereby, oh, I can't tell A this because A will be looking down at me? Rather, should it be, oh, I have this problem, A can help me? But usually what I see most times is, oh no, we're friends, but we don't hit that boundary. That boundary is that is out of bounds of the friendship, you know. We always want to show the good sides. Yeah, this is the car I've just bought. This is what, this is that, but not the, you know what, guys, I'm having this sort of thoughts, suicidal thoughts, and I really need help. How many of us actually go to our friends and say all these things? So again, we do have a community. That would be my answer to you. My answer would be we do have a community, but are the relationships within that community, are they healthy enough to be able to support each other? A lot
Okay,
of times,
okay. Now we've heard from you, but soon we do have a community, but we don't have healthy relationships within this community. Now, what can we do, Basu? Because we need healthy relationship to thrive, not just for us as adults, especially for our children. Yes, we've identified the problem. Then what? Then next, what can we do?
again, that's a big one actually. What can we do?
From your
What can we
perspective,
do?
what do you think we should do in order to
What,
begin to build
what
healthy relationships, for example?
ideally, I mean, what I would say, the only solution to it is just being ourselves. And that seems to be a problem sometimes.
Mhm.
If it's not a big deal if A seems to have more than you do, or B does seem to have a little more than you do. It's not a big deal. It's the fact that we are thriving together. We are supporting each other. If we have that support system in place, then it wouldn't matter what A or B has. It's if we are just ourselves and just be real to ourselves. We need to be real to ourselves and actually evaluate ourselves. Why am I in all of this?
Who am
Not
I,
what do
first
I
of
want to,
all?
oh yeah, who am I? Yes,
Mhm.
definitely. And where am I? Because it's not about portraying something that I am not to the next person. It's about showing the person who I am and where I am at that point in time. It really shouldn't matter what the material differences are. And I think material is one big problem that we have in the BAME society.
Okay. Now, now it didn't come from me. Now you've heard it from Bosu himself, and I would like to say that this is where we're going to be ending today's episode of Serenity with Esther. We could go on and on and on and on and on, but I'd just like to thank you so much, Bosu, for really coming, to share your perspective and to sort of reiterate the things that we can do together as a community. I'm doing my hand like this, together as a community, so that we can thrive, so that our children can thrive, so that we can be the best that we can be for ourselves and for the larger society. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor to have you on today's episode of Serenity with SA. And I do hope I see you again soon. And to our viewers at home, thank you so much
Okay,
for staying with us. And I do hope you've enjoyed today's episode as much as I have. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And until then, this is Serenity with I say always, take care. And remember to subscribe to and share. Thank you. Bye bye.